Hello everyone, my name is Arjun Sharma and I'm a student in the English 107 class. And in this video, I'll be talking about my research question, which is based around a TED talk by former Irish president and human rights activist Mary Robinson. As I was ill, I had missed several classes and was not fully able to get the grasp of what this project was going to be, and hence I was late in choosing a TED talk for the project. In a state of panic, I began searching for videos all across the TED website, and after a few searches, I came across this video titled Why Climate Change is a Threat to Human Rights. Despite not being initially drawn to the topic, I gave it a watch as I was running out of time. And to my surprise, I was gravitated towards the video and caught interest towards the topics that Robinson expressed concerns over. Robinson talks about how climate change affects vulnerable communities that leads to poverty and displacement of people. She also highlighted the importance of climate change and policies that advocate towards helping the unfortunate that have been affected because of the devastating impact of climate change. During the entire video, a single question consumed my thoughts. How can we possibly deal with the worst case scenarios of climate change that could threaten our lives? And thus, my gap question was created. What strategies can we develop to face the worst possible consequences of climate change that lead to human rights violations in the future? With that being said, let us get started. Before diving into the central question, let us take a moment to address something we already understand. What is climate change and why is it such a big deal? Now, according to the United Nations, climate change refers to the long-term alterations in the Earth's temperatures and weather patterns. When the Earth captures the sun's energy, or when certain gases trap heat emitted by the Earth, preventing it from escaping into space, the planet warms, leading to global warming. Many people think climate change mainly means warmer temperatures, but temperature rise is only just the tip of the iceberg, no pun intended. The Earth is a system where everything is connected such that changes in one area can influence changes in all others. Climate change leads to intense drought, fires, rising sea levels, flooding, and other natural disasters. Now, with that covered, let's transition into our first theme. Theme 1: How climate change might affect the rights of us and our future generations. Climate change, as we know, can have huge and severe effects to our health, ability to grow food, housing, safety, and work, especially when it comes to our later generations. In fact, according to the Save the Children organization, 90% of diseases resulting from the climate crisis are likely to affect children under the age of 5. By 2040, it is estimated that 1 in 4 children will be living in areas with extreme water shortages. By 2050, a further 24 million children are projected to be undernourished as a result of the climate crisis. Almost 160 million children are exposed to increasingly severe and prolonged droughts. The education of around 38 million children is disrupted each year by the climate crisis. The climate crisis is forcing families to migrate. By 2050, there could be 143 million people being forced to leave their homes due to this crisis. Beyond considering only the future generations, it is important to recognize people from this generation residing on islands with prospects for survival in the face of climate change. In the next section, we will examine specific case studies that shine light on how people are presently dealing with the consequences of climate change. Case Study 1: The Island Nation of Kiribati. Kiribati, an island nation situated in the central region of the Pacific Ocean, comprises of 33 islands, with 20 of them being inhabited. Although currently home to over 120,000 residents, its future is not certain due to the imminent threats posed by climate change. Climate change and sea level rise have had a significant impact on the everyday lives of people in Kiribati and other Pacific Island countries. Rising sea levels have caused increased coastal erosion and saltwater intrusion into the freshwater lanes. Pacific Island nations like Kiribati face a major challenge due to their exposure to rising sea levels and frequent natural disasters. These events have even had serious consequences for the people and the environment of these islands. Kiribati especially is more vulnerable and at risk due to limited land availability, population pressures, and in case of atolls, their low-lying topography making them vulnerable to sea level rise. Kiribati is said to be the first nation to be completely swallowed by the rising sea levels according to Iberdrola, a renewable energy company. This situation is undeniably worrying, yet the people of Kiribati are working diligently to combat climate change and raise as much awareness as they can. Unfortunately, a daunting challenge lies ahead for them. Case Study 2: The United States of America. Continuing our journey, after first examining an island nation, let us now turn our attention to a first world country where we reside, the United States. This serves as a reminder that even developed nations can face the adverse effects of climate change. According to the United States Environmental Protection Agency, temperatures are rising, snow and rainfall patterns are shifting, and more extreme climate events such as heavy rainstorms and record high temperatures are becoming more common. Many of these observed climate changes are linked to rising levels of greenhouse gases in our atmosphere. According to the United Nations Geological Survey, climate change majorly affects natural disasters. Rising global surface temperatures increases the possibility of more droughts and an increased intensity of storms and hurricanes. According to the NOAA climate website, the year 2022 was deadly in that the 18 events of the year caused at least 474 direct or indirect fatalities, the eighth most disaster related fatality since 1980. Damages from the 2022 disasters totaled $161.1 billion. Adding the 2022 events to the records that began in the year 1980, the US has sustained 341 weather and climate disasters, with the overall damage costs reaching or exceeding $1 billion. The cumulative cost for these 341 events exceeded $2.475 trillion. The situation in the United States presents a different situation to that of Kiribati. It is undeniably interesting to observe how these widely different regions have been impacted by the climate change crisis. And this trend is only expected to worsen in the coming years. With that, I conclude my case studies and proceed to the next theme. Theme 2. Who bears the responsibility and authority to make a positive change in the realm of climate change and human rights? As we all know, humans are responsible for most of climate change. According to the United Nations, human activities have released large amounts of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases such as methane and nitrous oxide into the atmosphere since the Industrial Revolution, which has changed the Earth's climate drastically. Burning fossil fuels, chopping down trees, and rapidly globalizing are all major contributors to this predicament. Now, returning to the core question, given that we are the part of the problem, can we also be the catalyst for a positive solution? Yes, we can. This planet is our home and we need to try our best in order to battle this issue. We possess the capacity to make a significant difference in our environment by doing multiple of small yet impactful actions. Apart from the energy conservation, measures such as recycling, sustainable transportation, water preservation, supporting renewable energy, and minimizing single-use plastics are vital. According to the United Nations, planting trees, composting, and advocating for sustainable practices all contribute to a more sustainable future. By engaging in these measures, we can effectively combat climate change and promote a better planet. Now, let us delve into the realm of global leadership, where people have a tremendous influence over the course of our planet. These influential figures possess the ability to make the right change. When we speak of world leaders, we include not only political figures, but also those who are in charge of influential organizations and movements that make small but significant efforts to move in the right direction. Their collective impact has definitely made a significant difference in our world. For example, the president of Kiribati successfully sought assistance from China and other nations to raise the land levels in response to the rising sea levels, as reported by The Guardian in 2020. This acts as a positive example of leaders leaving a lasting impact. Regrettably, there are leaders who display a lack of concern for the climate and have taken no actions to address it. For example, Jair Bolsonaro, the president of Brazil, has faced criticism for his environmental policies. Under his leadership, deforestation in the Amazon rainforest has increased, raising concerns about its impact on global climate change, as the Amazon plays a critical role in the regulation of the climate. Often referred to as the lungs of the earth, it produces between 6 and 9% of the world's total oxygen and long functioned as a carbon sink, absorbing more carbon dioxide than it emits according to the Council on Foreign Relations. In the world of global leadership, the actions of influential figures can either help or harm our planet's future. Now, moving on to the core of this project. Despite my limited knowledge on climate issues, my research journey led me to wonder about the scarcity of resources and strategies available for combating climate change under the worst case scenarios. This raised a question in my mind. Why do we mostly focus on climate change prevention rather than prevention for the outcomes? Here, I present some of the few methods I was able to discover which might help us address the aspect of climate change mitigation. Sustainable drainage systems and infrastructure. More climate events have started to push the boundaries of what conventional drainage and sewerage systems can handle. Increased surface water runoff is contributing to overloaded sewers and more pollutants entering our rivers and streams. According to the GENUIT or Genuit Group, floodwater drainage systems can help us to abate the effects of climate change and can allow us to adapt and make sustainable changes to the infrastructures of our cities and towns. These systems are being created for us to deal with a warmer and wetter world. Sustainable drainage systems or SUDs can allow rainwater to be absorbed by the ground through features like ponds rather than flowing into the sewer network. Previously, one of the major obstructions in creating sustainable drainage systems has been an uncertainty due to the long term maintenance of the systems. But this is changing. Now, on to the second strategy, the need to introduce international laws that combat climate change, as both legal and moral human rights do not provide a way of escaping the problem. Governments worldwide have already taken steps to enact laws and agreements aimed at mitigating the consequences of climate change on human rights. It is important that they persist in these efforts. Here are some of the agreements and laws that have made a difference. The United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. According to its own website, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, or just UNFCCC, is an international treaty which was adopted at the Rio Earth Summit in 1992 and entered into force in 1994. The primary objective of the UNFCCC is to address global climate change and to stabilize greenhouse gas concentrations in the atmosphere at a level that will prevent dangerous human interference with the climate system. The UNFCCC puts forward several goals and principles. It calls upon nations to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions, emphasizing developed countries' leadership. Additionally, the convention talks about the importance of helping vulnerable communities, especially in the developing world, in adapting to the impacts of climate change. There are 198 countries that have approved this and are called the parties. Moving on to the Paris Agreement. According to the UNFCCC website, the Paris Agreement is a legally binding international treaty on climate change. It was adopted by 196 parties at the UN Climate Change Conference in Paris, France, on the 12th of December 2015 and entered into force on the 4th of November of 2016. Its overarching goal is to hold the increase in the global average temperature to below 2 degrees Celsius and pursue efforts to limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial levels. Each participating nation, known as a party, commits to creating a nationally determined contribution outlining their unique climate action plans and emission reduction goals. The framework promotes transparency and accountability with regular monitoring and reporting of progress. According to the Alliance for Citizen Engagement website, the Paris Agreement achieved notable success by encouraging countries like Japan, China, and the EU to set carbon neutrality goals and embrace net zero targets. Net zero means each country commits to reducing emissions close to zero, with any remaining emissions reabsorbed without significant environmental impact. These are just a couple of illustrations of influential agreements, laws, and treaties. There are countless more that have had significant impact. But now I will proceed towards my final strategy. The role of people spreading awareness, especially through social media. This builds upon our previous discussion about people's potential to combat climate change. Making a difference involves not only participating in NGOs and taking direct actions, but also using our voices to raise awareness. This is quite relevant in today's world, where social media plays such a significant role in our lives. According to the earth.org, social media is integral to winning the fight against climate change. There are many ways social media can help with. Creating and hosting digital communities. Addressing climate change creates transformations in our daily routines and demands a shift towards environmentally friendly, carbon reducing lifestyles. However, motivating individuals to embrace conscious behaviors when societal pressure is lacking poses a challenge. Social media can play a pivotal role in amplifying the impact of climate change research through the formation of online communities dedicated to environmental awareness. This is especially crucial for residents of regions where environmental concerns are underappreciated or misunderstood. Potential climate activists can collaborate with researchers and organizations, securing support for climate projects and fostering local awareness. Furthermore, digital platforms allow researchers to connect and share their findings openly, with mainstream sites like Twitter and TikTok facilitating engagement with the public, while professional networks like LinkedIn assist aspiring researchers in securing funding and expanding their professional circles. Such networking is essential in our interconnected world, as a coordinated global response is imperative for disseminating reliable information to the public. Public information. Climate change can be hard to get. Lots of folks do not see how their actions can affect the environment. Social media is the perfect platform to share climate research with the public. Sharing climate research with the public can also ease climate related anxiety, as many people have a constant worry about the environmental problems we face. When utilized effectively, social media can enhance our understanding of climate change and environmental damage. Social media can also help people find new friends, create communities, express their opinions, and share good news stories and other climate accomplishments. Disaster response. Elevated global temperatures have led to severe climate related natural disasters. Wildfires last for longer durations due to prolonged dry seasons and mismanagement of land. Similarly, research by NASA indicates that hurricanes have intensified and extreme storms have become more frequent, driven by rapidly warming oceans that serve as a breeding ground for cyclones. Social media platforms can also help with sharing information on ongoing events, raising public awareness regarding disasters like major oil spills. This increased awareness forces policymakers to hold businesses accountable for their actions and works toward averting potential environmental calamities. To deal with these disasters, we need a quick and clear plan. Government agencies can use social media sites like Twitter and Facebook to share important messages that can save lives and reduce the impact of these emergencies. This takes on added significance in the current climate, where the spread of misinformation has a chance of derailing climate research and undermine the diligent efforts of the climate scientists. In conclusion, the some strategies I could gather highlight and combat the pressing nature of climate change and its impact on human rights. It is essential that we come together to protect our planet. Additionally, we must continuously explore and implement new strategies to address the most severe consequences of climate change. I express my gratitude to my instructor, Ms. Ike, and my dedicated group members, Rahul, Rayan, and Atharv, for their help throughout this project. And thank you for enduring my awkward voice that graced this video's entire duration.